This is not going to be just something that, we can just go out and easily execute within a few weeks. All right. Let me coach you through all of the processes and activities that are required to get you to where your goal is at this point.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Business of Parenting podcast. Tune in as we discuss the principles of successful parenting as a business professional. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of BOP, the Business of Parenting podcast, where I get to talk about anything and everything I want to talk about when it comes to parenting. I have a very special guest with me, a good friend of mine, literally not too far down the street, actually, from where I am. I have the one, the only, the oh-so-famous Mr. Everold Reid in the house. Everold, what's up, man? How you doing?
I should have just come over to your house.
I know, right? I was kind of thinking about that. I was like, maybe we should just met for breakfast this morning or something.
Yeah. I mean, I have picked you up at your house like ungodly 5 a.m.
That's true. We have done that a few times. How you doing, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while for sure, a couple of years at least. I know we've texted occasionally and talk occasionally, but it's been an issue. It's been a long couple of years for me anyways.
Yeah.
And
What a crazy time in our industry. What a crazy time to be a parent. I just think the last 2 years talk about just challenging yourself from both sides, of our business, of just our career and just our families. I know a lot of things have changed with you, and we're going to get to talk about some of those. We got some great topics today, but before we get into our topics, though, for everybody out there watching and listening right now, I love kicking off these podcasts with little origin stories, right? So, let's get into that origin story of kind of just the family and yourself and the career and how it all kind of got started and where it is today.
Wow. So the family and the career. Well, so which one first, the career or the family?
Yeah, let's go career and then family.
Okay. So career wise, I'm pushing, actually, I've just exceeded my 30th year in the automotive space and been back at Lexus of Oakville now for 10 and a half years. Now, in that 30 years, I did step away for a bit to do some other sales and marketing, but always kind of dabbled still within the automotive space. Have held pretty much all the positions from senior management, general sales manager, to owning a used car dealership, sales and service. But the bulk of my sales career has been with Lexus and Toyota. And I think it's, bar none, the best automotive company to work with, because it's not just about sales and marketing. It's about great philosophy. And I think I've learned so much from the Toyota and Lexus philosophy of doing business and success that it has helped me to be successful in other businesses and entrepreneurship as well. So there's that. So, but aside from being involved with Lexus and Toyota, I hold a sales office at Lexus of Oakville. I do also have my consulting company where I do sales training, not just in the automotive space, but, as you know, when you cut your teeth in the automotive space, you can pretty much sell in many other places.
That is very, very true.
Or you learn so much about the experiences of dealing with thousands of clients in so many different scenarios and different people that it toughens you up and prepares you, gives you a perspective unlike any other.
Yes.
So that, you can literally provide this type of advice and training and expertise and experiences to other industries. So I've created courses, I've written books, and I've created courses. One, the lease performance blueprint, which helps dealerships to increase lease retention, renewal rates, build long-term portfolios, and build long-term sales careers. And then obviously the Reid method, a blueprint for achieving sales mastery. That's I created that book and courses about sales and business success, what's important for the individual sales rep or manager or owner to have ultimate success in sales and business, and also in personal life. So I'm big on personal development, which I think has made my career It helps with the disciplines that, you and I have to work with, such as getting up early, getting a head start. Even though today I cheated a bit, I was in bed
Did
till
you?
6
You did
o'clock.
not, did you? Come
I
on.
know.
I've never heard that. Usually you're up at like the crack of dawn, you know? And you know, again, that's a perfect segue kind of into, your family, because you've not only made a monster career out of automotive, but you also have a child who's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
fallen.
And now two of them.
Oh, two.
And
I didn't
I
know this. Okay, all right. Tell me more. Tell me
and
more.
I don't know how this happened. Okay, I got nothing to do with it. But they were all, playing football, went to college, university, and decided they didn't like what they were doing there, and get a call from Quincy, who you've met,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Oh, I can't forget this cause like, Dad, how about I just sell cars?" I was thinking, he goes, "I'm a good communicator. I know to talk to people." And he hit the nail right on the head, because to be able to be successful in sales and business, communication is really number one. You
Huge.
have to be able to communicate and have empathy. And he didn't say, "Well, I wanted to go sell cars and make a bunch of money." He goes, "Well, I'm a good communicator. I know how to talk to people." And I'm go, "Okay, well, that makes sense." And then I literally took him the book home to study. I threw it at him, and then he studied, passed the test. And it was important for me to guide him, provide some guidance, by directing him to the right, what I think is one of the best dealerships that could have mentored him.
Mm-hmm.
And those are my friends and your friends over at Burlington Toyota, who have took him under their wings. And today he's like one of their top salesperson.
Oh, it
Like,
doesn't
he's
surprise me one
in
bit.
butt.
Good chip off the
Yeah,
old block, I'll tell you that.
I know he's kicking ass over there. So good on him. And my older son Jordan, just by fluke, got introduced to Element Fleet Management
Nice.
company. So their Element Fleet company is corporate. They manage corporate accounts for big companies. So he actually is one of their account managers.
That's cool.
Uh, yeah,
Now,
taking orders for big companies across the U.S. and Canada
now there's
for
three, right?
their fleets.
Do I have that right? Three?
Yeah, my daughter
Yes.
is the one I was just talking to. She's not in the automotive space, and
Well, at least not
she,
yet. She
at
still has
least not
she still has a
yet.
little bit of time. We'll see what
She still
happens.
has, yeah, she's the
Just kidding.
youngest, so anything is possible.
So how old are they? Let's go through that.
So my daughter, Brianna, is 22.
Mm-hmm.
Quincy, who we've met, is 26. He'll turn 27 in September. And my oldest, Jordan, is 28
Wow, man.
and a half, somewhere.
They're pretty
So,
they're pretty close in age. They're pretty
yeah,
close in age, but they're all in their 20s, which is
yeah,
kind of
they're all in their 20s.
which is kind of
Yeah,
a perfect segue kind of our first topic today, right? Because our first
yeah,
topic is parenting older kids,
yeah.
right? Older kids, young adults. God, I
I
hate that.
don't,
I hate
yeah.
that sound. I hate that. When I say the word young adults, I kind of go like I cringe a little. I'm like they're still gonna be
Yeah,
my kids, no matter I guess how old they are. But
yeah.
man, I just think of
It's a
everything.
different dynamic for
It's
sure.
a very different dynamic. So let's get into that. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about kind of your approach and just the difference in the dynamics of parenting older kids versus younger.
Well, one of the things with me is that I've always set the bar pretty high for my kids, and I think it's kind of shown in the level of success that they've had to date. And um, one of the things when Jordan, the 28-year-old, was interviewed by the company, one of the feedback they gave to him was, tell your parents that they did a very good job of raising you. And I'm like, I think that's a great compliment.
We all want to
When,
hear that.
yeah, if your 28-year-old goes for an interview and they're impressed in the interview, or to the point where they're making such a statement, I guess they can identify, versus compared to everybody else that they've interviewed, that there is maybe a difference here with this person. And I remember that they stopped the interviews. They did not take any other interviews and hired him instead. So I think when you're when you're, raising older kids or you're parenting older or young adults. For me, it's the foundation of discipline where there has to be respect, because at the end of the day, I make it pretty clear that, if you know so much and you can do better, then you can always be on your own, like I was when I was 17, right? But they're all in their 20s, and thankfully Quincy, the middle one, has his own place and is doing well, and my other two are trying to get into a place or to position themselves where they can be.
Which, I mean, these days it's the cost of living is insane. We just recently sold our house, and what we sold it for just blows my mind. I mean, the market is just ridiculous right now. I actually have several young people that are in their 20s that work for me right now, and they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to leave, their mom and pop's place and to get their own. And it's just, I mean, it's insane. It's thousands and thousands of dollars a month just to get a simple place. But anyways, I digress. I want to go down. You said something that I want to go down. I love finding rabbit holes, and you know me. I like finding rabbit holes. I love going down rabbit holes. Right? Use the word discipline. Yeah. And like myself, that the discipline of waking up every morning between 5 and 5:30. Mm-hmm. It's like I think as parents we hear the word discipline, and sometimes we almost get. It's like a no word. No, we don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. But I really kind of think, of discipline as a mindset. Both of us have a podcast. You've had the opportunity to interview some amazing entrepreneurs and just successful business individuals. And the one trait that I think you've probably seen, and I've seen as well, is that they all are very well disciplined, all right, in just their routine. And I think about that, and that's not something that happens overnight. We were talking about this a little bit off camera before we started. Our kids, when they're younger, they go through this training stage. We have to train them what to do. Then we have to kind of develop them so that they can execute on those activities a bit better. And then as they get older, and definitely I think in the age range that you're in right now, you kind of become coach. Yeah. And you got to coach them. You can't tell them what to do. You have to coach them through. And I find in their 20s that is probably one of the most biggest spaces you spend.
So you're more of a supporter when they're older. Mm-hmm. You become more in the support role where, they'll bounce things off you, or you'll see something and you'll say, hey, there's a better way to do this. Instead of saying no, because if you say no and they want to do it, they're probably going to do it anyways. But it's a way of showing them a better way sometimes, and showing them alternatives that they can get to a better result than they anticipated, or get to the same result, but through a better channel, so to speak, a less painful channel. So guidance, in terms of literally even just saying to my daughter, don't speed, slow down, don't rush too much to get to where you're going, leave 5 minutes earlier. Okay, those simple things literally save lives, save accidents, save you getting tickets, which cause all the headaches. So it's the big stuff now that you're dealing with. You're not just telling someone to clean up their room and pick up their toys or eat your dinner. You're talking about driving. You're talking about, key responsibilities and insurance payments and car payments, and saving for mortgages and saving to buy a house, and making sure that you've got your education in place. Or for me, education is about having options. So for me, I've tried to teach them about putting yourself in a position that you have the options, where it's not about being told, here is $20 an hour, because that's the skills you have. And if you don't give yourself options or set yourself up, I think parents that's what we have to do with young adults, is to keep, consistently reminding them that they want to put the kids, you want to put them in a position where they have better options, as opposed to just, having to just follow, like right now you're talking about houses, it's an impossibility for grown-ups to buy a house.
Well, it's very, very tough. So and that goes back to that discipline rabbit hole I wanted to go down, right? I think when you get to that age, and I'm kind of thinking this is what my father did with me. Now, I always had a very interesting relationship with my father because he actually was my coach and my dad at the same time, which is actually still very awkward even today, because even today, sometimes within a millisecond, he can go from dad to coach like that.
Just like that.
And some people look at it and they go, what did he just say to you? And, but that's true. We have to kind of coach them through it. It's like, hey, you have the goal of getting your own place. Okay. Now, look, let me coach you through. All right. If you're saying that you're going to do it, you're going to do it. You want to do it. You're going to do it. Okay. Well, it's going to be a crap ton of work.
Yeah.
All right. This is not going to be just something that, we can just go out and easily execute within a few weeks. All right. Let me coach you through all of the processes and activities that are required to get you to where your goal is at this point.
Absolutely. Like eating out less, door dashes, less skip the dishes.
Yes. Which is little things. Yeah.
All those things that just drain your bank account. That's money you could be saving. Driving these days, driving to places unnecessarily is a waste of money and time. Who doesn't calculate now or think twice about where they're driving to? Can you ride your bike or can you walk instead?
Well, and it's the same thing that we have to do with our staff.
Yeah.
I think some of the best businesses out there, all right, do an amazing job of, really kind of sitting down with their staff and understanding their why. I got to put my kids through school, saving up money for a house. All right. I want to take this vacation to Jamaica. It's like it. And then as kind of business owners or leaders within our business, similar to leaders within our family unit, all right, that we need to kind of coach them, through
Speaking
that.
about parenting, I got to let my dog in.
Okay, go ahead.
Come. Sorry, buddy. Okay, it's a little one. So my daughter left, and now because I'm here, he comes to my room.
I love it. See,
oh yeah, that's the other kid.
That's the other kid. I was funny. I actually had a podcast the other day where Lou Ramirez, and he called himself the Doodle Dad, and I'm like, the Doodle Dad. He goes, yeah, my kids are all gone now. And I got left with the dog, and that's what I am. I'm the Doodle Dad now. But it's good. But you know what though? I think coaching is an amazing place to be in. But it's definitely a mindset that we have to kind of remember. Sometimes it's easy to kind of default back to just wanting to train them what to do and what not to do, when really in reality we have to let them kind of make their decisions. We've got to coach them through those decisions.
They got to make some mistakes along the way, because that's the only way they'll truly learn. And sometimes maybe get that speeding ticket so that they realize the consequences of what that means. Or, I don't know, like there has to be some learning and toughness along the way, spoon feeding.
Well, you know what? I like the fact that you kind of bring that up too, because, the one thing we're going to go into, the next topic that you've kind of chose is parenting after the loss of a close family member.
Yes.
And, parenting, it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. That's the saying, right? And it truly does take many different people with many different types of personalities. Everold, like me and your personality are very similar. All right, we grew up in the car business. It's suck it up, buttercup, and check it at the door. There's this kind of like, we can still be empathetic, but there's still this just buckle down and get it done. And which is, I find, balanced by my wife, who's more in tune with her emotions than I would say I am, And, when we lose, someone in our family, how do we balance that back out? So if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of go into that story. If you want to kind of give some context.
Yeah,
really cool.
It's really weird. I mean, and it's just June here. This past June, so it's literally 1 year and 1 month since the passing of my wife. Yeah, so it was June 3rd last year, 2021, and it was already a trying time. A year and a half into COVID, and typically towing around, trying not to make her sick, or making sure that we're sanitizing everything around her, and then. Cancer has a way of really, really creeping up, and for most it was breast cancer. And I mean, just to get into a bit of it, and we managed that for a long time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was a few years, and it had gone in remission. And then it returned, I guess, 2, 3 years ago. Well, 3 years ago. And yeah, it became very difficult to deal with. So I had to manage that with her. I did my best between work and, taking time off to take her to all the different treatments and, as much as time as we could. Um, but the thing with that, Jason, was what do you tell the kids, right? And
Mm-hmm.
for her, she didn't want to scare them and to give them all the details of her illness, because we still had a lot of hope. We were trying everything
Mm-hmm.
to see if we could, at least prolong her life or give her a better way out or something. And all along, her main thing was to protect the children from them not worrying too much,
Mm-hmm.
even though she was going through hell. So that was kind of a tough time. And then to having to actually deal with it, and it's just weird how
Yeah,
it literally goes from someone who, she was driving in May, and she was gone by June 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like,
It's crazy.
it was just like a precipitous decline in her health in over like a 2 week period.
Well, and not just the loss of just the partner of marriage that you had,
Mm-hmm.
but then just the loss of the partner that you have in the business of parenting. Um,
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just, I mean, you got hit twice,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean,
And it's
28
just,
years. We were married almost 28 years.
it's
It would have
amazing.
been 20. It would have been 28 in the August. So it was just under 28 years. So I knew her pretty much most of my life. I
Hmm.
would have known her about 30 years, and I'm only 52 now. So at the time, it would have been, yeah, uh, so most of my life. But then, yeah, so you're losing, your partner from partnership perspective, but then to the kids, she was their absolute. She was kind of a hero to the kids. They were
Hmm.
like best buddies. Where I'd be the more disciplinarian and the firmer hand, so to speak, but she was like their buddy. And so to them, it was it's still kind of. I know they still haven't come to grips with it.
Now, do you find that you had to start taking on a few more duties, of being more of that friend,
Yeah,
being more that empathetic ear, that emotional piggy bank that maybe, we weren't
yeah,
quite trained to be?
yeah. I'm way more flexible in terms of how I analyze things. With I think before I kind of react to what my kids are doing or suggesting or asking. Um, just keep in mind that maybe they're doing things a certain way because that's how they're dealing with the loss. So I don't react as I usually do, but um, I definitely listen more, and I think I try to engage with them more. Um, whether it be golfing with one son, whether it be cooking and sharing meals with the other, whether it be, I invite them out to more events with me and stuff like that. Just try to interact more.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Well, it's just trying to kind of, well, it's a rebuild, you know.
Yeah.
Before you had two dynamics, all right, and I think as children is that you have a relationship with both dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
right, and I think children need both dynamics. They need kind of this balance, of this softness and this firmness, and kind of the scale that kind of sways back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's like when that scale is kind of off, it's kind of our responsibility to kind of pick this up, which is then kind of going into kind of our next subject, which is parenting, by yourself while juggling a career and
Correct.
entrepreneurship. But actually, you know
Yeah.
what though, real quick though, before I kind of go into that topic, and I do this sometimes, I go a little squirrely.
That's okay.
You know, I think there are definitely others out there that are listening, watching right now who may be in a similar situation. Is there any advice? Being now you've gone through the first year,
Wow.
any advice that you'd, like
Yeah.
to share?
The one thing for me is, I mean, and I've both from a parenting perspective and from a partner perspective is, I do have some, I wish I did things a little differently, even, when she was talking to me, she would say, well, I don't have a lot of time. And I'm like, come on, let's figure out a way. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's, I think people know, and they know how they feel, and they know what their bodies and their mind is telling them when they're really sick. So I think we need to listen and probably pay a bit more attention. I was very optimistic. I was always trying to, to say, okay, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a chance. Let's do this. Let's try this. But I think people know, and sometimes they've just had enough of the pain and the
Yes.
and the discomfort. And so I wish I spent more quality time rather than, being like I at some point let my career, especially at Lexus, and I have no qualms about saying this, where I was too worried about to take as much time as I needed because
Well, that's the juggling
of
we were talking
of
about. Yeah.
the juggling and what they may say that, why am I not there as much, even though they know, and the part that came that was a bit annoying for me, and I think people will go through this as well, is when I said that I was having to take care of my wife and stuff. In some instances, I know they thought I was actually out doing my other business, which was a mistake on their part. So it's, how do you juggle, keep a job, keep everyone informed, but at the same time prioritize your family. So,
And that is one tough place to do, even more so with not having a partner to do it with.
yeah.
I mean, I think of just juggling today. My kids are young, and juggling just life in general, juggling the business, and just juggling their training and development needs. Mine are not as old as yours.
And with your kids, right? They can't drive themselves to go do this and that.
No, they're
right?
very dependent. They're very dependent.
So you have to be there. Whereas with my kids, they all have their own cars. They can get around, and so on. So yeah, the independence level is different, and that's what you kind of have to gauge during, who's going to help out with what and how you're going to structure your days and what do you have. I mean, we have to plan. Okay, if someone's not home for an extended period of time, who's going to be home to walk the dog?
Yes.
So it's those little things.
Well, now it's a matter of planning and scheduling and then trying to find little hacks, like you said, of going golfing with one. And driving another, just so you can have a little bit of quality time. It's those little hacks, but the schedule. I think anybody out there juggling, I think no matter what kind of age group your kids are in, and there's always juggling. Seems like parents are always doing that,
Always,
right?
yeah.
Is that scheduling and sticking to a routine is incredibly important to kind of maintain the rhythm of that juggling. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time, Everold, and I can't tell you how much I truly, truly appreciate you just being so open and just vulnerable enough and just real with us this morning. This has been a really cool time to connect and have some of these tougher discussions, But before I let you go, though, I always kind of like to wrap things up with kind of a last question. And, if for anybody out there that might be, a new or up-and-coming new parent with your many, many years of experience, is there any piece of advice that you would share with new and up-and-coming parents?
Well, being present is very important, I think. Being present, finding time for yourself as well is very important, because it can drive you crazy if you're always giving and not taking care of yourself. So yes, you have to live for your children and live for your family, but don't forget to take care of yourself in the process as well.
That's a very good point. Self-care,
Yeah.
all right, is what allows us to kind of maintain that rhythm of the juggling act, that we were talking about.
Yeah, like they say, you're not good to anybody else if you can't take care of you, if you're not good for yourself. So you have to take care of yourself and realize that your family needs you. And that means, okay, taking care of your health, eating right, getting exercise, mentally, there's mental health, and there's all sorts of talking to people just to express yourselves, to get things off your chest and not keeping things in, as sometimes as I did.
That's some great advice. Everold, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me this morning. This has been a really great, very eye-opening. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have yourself a good time.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business of Parenting podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.